Today, on the battlefield of ideas, two giants face each other. Plato, the visionary of eternal forms who saw truth in a world beyond appearances. Aristotle, the rebel student who grounded truth in observation, logic, and the senses. It is the clash between the dream of perfection and the reality of imperfection. Which vision truly guides the human journey? Prepare yourself. Plato versus Aristotle. Ideals versus reality begins now. In Athens, 427 BC, a boy was born who would change philosophy forever. Plato. Marked by the death of his teacher Socrates, he vowed that truth must survive. At his academy, he taught that the world we see is unstable and corruptible. Beyond it lies the realm of the forms, eternal, pure, perfect. For him, the philosopher is not just a thinker, but a guardian of truth. But one student refused to follow blindly. From distance to Gira came Aristotle. Where Plato raised his eyes to the heavens, Aristotle kept his feet on the ground. Truth, he said, is not in invisible ideals, but in what we can observe, measure, and study. Animals, stars, cities, not shadows, but reality itself, alive and worth knowing. Plato dreamed of a perfect city ruled by philosopher kings. Aristotle studied real cities, their laws, their failures. Plato built ideals. Aristotle built practice. Teacher against student. Dreamer against realist. The architect of perfection against the observer of imperfection. And this was more than a clash between two men. It was the birth of two ways of thinking. One reaching for eternal truth, the other grounded in the reality around us. A debate that still shapes how we think today. This was not only a debate in Athens. It was the seed of two traditions that would echo for millennia, shaping science, politics, religion, and art. Every age has chosen sides. The medieval church sided with Plato. The Renaissance rediscovered Aristotle. Even today, in science and in faith, their voices still collide. The arena opens, timeless and vast. The question rises like a flame. Where does truth live? Is it above us, eternal and unchanging? Or here, within the fragile world we see and touch? On one side, Plato. For him, the world of the senses is a deception, unstable, corruptible, a mere shadow. Beyond it lies the true reality, the forms, pure, perfect, eternal. The philosopher is the one who escapes the cave of illusions and beholds the sun of truth. On the other side, Aristotle. For him, there is no higher realm. The world we see is not a shadow, it is truth itself. To understand it, we must observe, classify, and reason from what is real. Knowledge begins not with escape, but with experience. It is the duel between two visions of reality. Plato's ladder rising toward eternity, Aristotle's path walking step by step through the living world. One trusts reason against the senses. The other begins with the senses and builds reason upon them. This is not a clash of minor details. It is a collision between two ways of knowing, between the dream of perfection and the study of imperfection, between the eternal ideal and the concrete fact. As these worlds collide, the battle truly begins. The first strike comes from Plato. With the authority of a prophet, he declares, "The world of the senses is not the true world. It is only a shadow." His weapon is the cave. Prisoners chained in darkness, mistaking flickering images for reality. Only the philosopher who escapes can rise to the light. Only reason can lift the soul to the eternal forms, beauty, justice, truth, pure and perfect. For Plato, Reality is not here, in this broken world. It lives beyond. But Aristotle answers with calm precision. To him, the cave is no revelation. It is blindness. Turn your back on the senses, and you lose the very ground of knowledge. Truth begins with what we see, hear, and touch. The earth itself becomes his foundation. Plants, animals, stars. Not shadows of something higher, but reality itself, alive and worth knowing. The clash intensifies. Plato insists that what changes cannot be true, but Aristotle counters, change is not corruption. It is life. Strike after strike, their visions collide, the heavens of perfection against the soil of experience. Two blows, two directions, two definitions of reality itself. The arena trembles. The fight has truly begun. The strikes grow sharper. The clash spreads beyond metaphysics. Plato lifts the fight into politics. If people live in shadows, chained to illusions, how can they govern? Only the philosopher who has seen the light of the forms can rule with justice. The city must be guided by wisdom, not desire. Philosopher kings are the only hope. Aristotle strikes back. Plato's dream of perfect rulers is a trap. Real cities are not made of ideals, but of people, flesh, passion, and conflict. To understand power, you must study laws and citizens in action. Not visions, but evidence. Not perfection, but practice. Plato turns to the soul. Reason must rule over spirit and appetite. Only then can man live in harmony with eternal order. Aristotle answers with steel. Virtue is not harmony with distant ideals, it is balance in daily life. Courage, justice, moderation. Habits forged in action. We become what we do again and again. Excellence is not a form, excellence is practice. The conflict spreads to art. Plato points to the poet. Poetry is a shadow of a shadow. It deceives and corrupts. The poet must be banished. Aristotle defends. Art does not lie, it reveals. Through tragedy we learn pity and fear. Through poetry we cleanse the soul. Imitation is reflection. It shows who we are. The tempo rises, the cave against the classroom, the ideal republic against the living city, the banished poet against the healing stage. Every line is a strike, every counter-argument a wound. The fight is no longer only about truth. It is about how we live, how we rule, how we know ourselves. And still, neither side retreats. The duel reaches its peak. The arena shakes with every word. Plato strikes upward. Look around, he cries. Everything fades. If truth lives only here, then truth dies with the world. Wisdom must rest on what is eternal. The forms, pure and unchanging. Without them, all is flux, all is dust. Aristotle counters, fierce and unyielding. What good is a truth no one can touch? What good is a city imagined in heaven if real cities fall on earth? Knowledge must serve life, and life breathes in change, in growth, in movement. To deny it is to deny reality itself. The clash cuts deeper. They strike at the soul. For Plato, the body is a prison. The soul is immortal, longing to return to a higher realm. To live well is to rise beyond flesh toward eternity. But Aristotle refuses. The soul is no exile. It is the form of the body, its purpose, its life force. Without the body, there is no soul. To live well is not to flee the world, but to fulfill our nature within it. Here, Aristotle unveils his vision of becoming. A seed carries the tree inside it. Change is not decay, it is growth. Movement is the path to fulfillment. Plato clings to eternity. Aristotle embraces becoming. The immortal soul against the living form, the static ideal against the unfolding of nature. At the heart of life itself, their blades strike hardest, neither yields, and the question hangs in the smoke of battle. Is truth eternal, shining above the world, or alive, pulsing here in the imperfection of things? The clash ends. The arena falls quiet, but the question remains. Plato and Aristotle are gone, yet their duel lives in us. When we dream of a flawless world, we walk with Plato. When we measure and build, we walk with Aristotle. Both voices still shape how we search for truth. Too much Plato, and we chase mirages of perfection. Too much Aristotle, and we drown in details and lose the horizon. Perhaps wisdom is not choosing one, but holding the tension between both. Let ideals lift us, let reality ground us. So the question stands, which world do you trust? The eternal forms above, steady and pure, or the living world around us, messy and alive? Every choice still carries the echo of this ancient duel. Plato, the dreamer of eternal truth. Aristotle, the realist of the living world. Two visions, two legacies, two paths that cross in the human heart. Do we reach for what could be? Do we embrace what is? Or dare to hold both? And if you want to keep exploring these duels, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Battle of the Thinkers, the arena where history's greatest minds collide. Because here, ideas are brewed strong, like a cup of black coffee for the soul. And in the next arena, two new giants await. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of discipline, forged in the fire of stoic duty. And Sigmund Freud, the explorer of desire, who uncovered the hidden drives of the human soul. Discipline versus desire. Order versus impulse. Marcus Aurelius versus Freud. The next duel is coming. Grab your coffee. Be here when it begins.